Well, hello, Commissioner. Welcome to the Greater MSP Zoom room. Thanks for taking a few minutes to share your insight on a week that saw the state take significant action in response to the health and economic effects of COVID-19. There was a lot of news this week, but we wanted to hear from you about what we should know kind of beyond the press release. So in case we missed it, could you hit the high points? What were the most important actions the state took this week regarding the economy, employers, and employees?
Well, thanks, Peter, and thanks to the Greater MSP membership for all of your support and guidance and advice through what is truly an extraordinary and unprecedented time in our state's economy. I think obviously the big news this week, of course, has been the stay-at-home order that the governor issued yesterday, and I can tell you that that is an order that was debated and discussed for several days before it came out. And I hope what people are seeing is that the Minnesota model to all of this, all of these challenges is one that's very planful, one that really takes into account all of the best data that we have and weighs a lot of competing and critical factors as it relates to what we're going to do to stop the spread of this virus. And so I think the big news yesterday on the stay-at-home order was that we do need to pause business operations, broadly speaking, for the next 2 weeks. There are lots of exemptions there, and we can get into that because, of course, the economy needs to continue to function. But to give us time as a state to prepare for what we know is coming. And the governor walked through some of the modeling there that is stark. It is dramatic to see. And if we don't plan for it now, I think we face even bigger challenges. So I think this pause that we're hitting is going to give us a chance as a business community and a community in state government to partner together to tackle some of these discrete issues that we know we're going to face as it relates to personal protective equipment, ventilators, hospital facilities, staffing, et cetera, so that as this thing grows, we can be as ready for it as possible and ensure that Minnesotans are kept safe.
You mentioned the exemptions. That was a big issue this week, and every business was paying close attention to that. Can you just recap what was the policy around exemptions that Minnesota landed on and why that's the version that makes the most sense for this state?
Yeah, I mean, we were looking at what a lot of other states were doing. We looked at that federal guidance from the Department of Homeland Security, the CISA guidance, which you can find at cisa.org around critical infrastructure operations. We also listened to a lot of the folks in the Minnesota business community. We got hundreds of emails from members of the Greater MSP Partnership and other entities that helped inform the decision making. Where we landed was sort of at what you might call CISA plus. So it is those critical infrastructure needs, but it's more than that. And when I say more than that, we talked to the Department of Commerce to talk about financial regulation and operation, ensure that can continue. We talked to businesses across a variety of Minnesota's very diverse economic sectors to make sure we are taking into full consideration all the implications there. And so the list you see there is, we think, the most robust of any state thus far. In addition, we try to get really very specific on this. So rather than just industry sectors, we want to layer below that into occupational codes. And if you go to mn.gov/deed/critical, you can see all of those codes there, which we hope is a lot clearer for folks. And if businesses do want to apply for an exemption or ask for clarification, there's a form there that you can do that through. We've got about 25 experts across state government working inside the Department of Admin, evaluating every one of those requests that come in, and they'll go back to businesses within 24 hours. So we want to move quickly. We know that since it's just 2 weeks, we can't afford to wait very long to get back to people because it is just for this 2-week period. And so we've stood up the fastest process we can to help businesses out. And we know there's a lot of questions out there. We want to do the best we can to answer them well.
Okay, I appreciate that. I mean, you mentioned the Minnesota model, and in that spirit, what actions or help would you or the governor be looking to private sector employers for right now in order to best support an effective response and set us up for a really strong recovery?
Well, it's a great question. In many ways, it's the most important question because this stay-at-home order for 2 weeks is not just, hey, everybody, let's chill for a second and try to stop the spread of the virus. It's actually, let's pause for a moment and accelerate our efforts to develop these key strategic areas of focus that we're going to need to tackle to be ready for the exponential growth of this virus. And so already we're working with companies in the medical sector on increasing ICU capacity, working with companies in the electronics and logistics space on transferring things, other materials into ventilators so we can increase that capacity. You'll hear a lot more early next week on this effort, but it is a full effort of partnership between government and business to make sure that we are tackling everything from economic stability to protecting vulnerable populations to preparing our medical system, a whole host of work groups. And I think, Great MSP, McKinsey, the business partnerships, so many of our extraordinary business executives in this community have helped influence that thinking, and we're grateful for that and are ready to really accelerate the effort during this time.
That's great. I'm hearing a lot of interest. There are questions, there are offers of support. What's the best way to get in contact with the state right now?
There's lots of ways. If you have a discrete suggestion of something you think your business can do to help, there's actually an email address that you can email that we are monitoring by the minute. And it's hsem.ppp@state.mn.us. And we can throw that email address into the link to this chat or something. But I think it's being monitored very closely by our State Emergency Operations Center, which is here in downtown St. Paul. And already we're getting a lot of great ideas, and we're just seeing stuff happen organically. I think what Medical Alley did to create that online forum to connect suppliers and medical technology companies was great. You talk about the Minnesota model. It's not just what government is doing. Minnesota model is the business community coming together and finding ways to help, which we've been impressed and not surprised, but impressed to see. So that's part of this journey for us.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a showcase for a pretty unprecedented public-private partnership.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of work that you're doing this week to solve the problems that were right in front of you. No doubt there are other challenges that you're facing right now. Could you give us a sense of what you, the governor of the state, are working on right now related to the economy that we might expect to see around the corner next week or in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, a couple of things come to mind. I think first, we know that this federal package that's coming through, this $2 trillion stimulus plan, knock on wood, if it comes to full fruition, and it looks like it will, our biggest challenge there, or biggest opportunity there, is just take advantage of that as quickly as possible to give Minnesotans and Minnesota businesses clear guidance on how to take advantage of those resources, to make sure we're working with our congressional delegation and federal partners to free up those pathways as soon as possible. I mean, look, the state can do so many things as it relates to economic relief, but the federal government's power dwarfs that of states. They can print money, they can take debt on, and so that's just been a huge focus from the beginning. We've done a lot at the state too, but our efforts are limited when it comes to economic incentives and growth, and with a problem this big, just given the size of the budgets we're talking about. So that'll be one. I think the second is just partnering with the private sector on some of these challenges. I think you're going to start to feel that we're in more of an action-oriented space. It's been a little bit reaction up till now, just in the sense that we're trying to create whatever levers we can to help. So people are unemployed, we ramp up our unemployment insurance program. Small businesses are hurt, we try to get more forgivable loans, and we've done some of those things, but they're very much kind of just trying to stem the bleeding, if you will. I think now we're in a place where, with federal money coming in, hopefully that will help even more, and we can shift to a more proactive approach. And the big challenge in all this is you don't want the economy to slow down, obviously. It is going to, but you got to keep revenues going in. You got to get people to continue to spend money. It's those very things that are going to help pay for, more ventilators, more PPE, more medical responses. So the governor's weighing that very carefully. It's very much a part of every discussion. And, we know this next 2 weeks will be tough for so many businesses in the state, but for 78% of the workers in the state, they're in a critical industry job. So many people will continue to work, and, we want to make sure that they're doing so with the kind of clarity and support that they need.
That's an interesting stat. I don't think most people would recognize that 78% of employees. You want to highlight that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I was a little bit surprised too when we began the analysis, because you hear about states kind of shutting down their economies, and you think, my gosh, that means everything just turns into a sort of ghost town, and that's not actually the case. I think, given the list of industries that we've deemed to be critical, that I think, again, is more robust than most states, and just given how important so many basic functioning things are, you might not think about things like laundromats or food truck delivery drivers, and these things we all kind of have maybe taken for granted for so long are now so important. there are so many workers in the state that are doing critical jobs. And I will say this, for many companies, it's like 50-50. Some of your workers may be in critical industry jobs, others might not be. So it's not a kind of all or nothing for every business. And that's why getting clarity on that, mn.gov/deed/critical site is important, because you may have more of your workers available to be up and running than you might think. So we do encourage people to reach out.
Well, and maybe along those lines, we're seeing a lot of temporary layoffs and furloughs and some temporary job destruction, but we're also seeing positions created and immediate growth opportunities. And I think I saw something out of Deed today that was trying to help make that crosswalk between those who are looking for work right now and those new positions that became available.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is so many people are hiring hand over fist. You see Target, Hormel, London Byerly's, Cub Foods, U.S. Bank, all hiring at a very much faster rate given the crisis, and they're offering bonuses and increased wages. The healthcare sector, of course, is hiring hand over fist to get more staffing to support those affected. And so you are seeing a bunch of hiring. We've seen CVS at a national level say they're going to hire, I think, 30,000 people, Walmart, 150,000 people. And they're hiring for different kinds of jobs now, right? It's like for delivery or online commerce management. So we're going to continue to get those job vacancies out there for those who truly are dislocated from their jobs and can find a new role or can find a temporary role during the crisis. General Mills and other companies are, 3M obviously seeing huge growth, and they need more people. We headed into this thing with one of the highest job vacancy rates we've ever had in the state's history, and so much hiring that needed to be done. That didn't just all shut off because of the crisis. Some of it did, but a lot of it's still there. And so we want to do the best that we can as government just to help point people in the direction of where the opportunities are.
Well, that's probably something we could be working on, next week and over the course of the next month to make sure that, we're knitting that market up as tight as we can, as fast as we can.
Yeah.
Well, your time is short. There's a lot going on. Is there anything else that, you think we should know that you'd like to share?
No, I think, Peter, I appreciate the opportunity. I think the Greater MSP has been such a phenomenal partner for us really since the beginning of the Walz administration's time in state government. So we're grateful for that, and just grateful to the members. I think we're seeing a lot of creative ideas, a lot of collaboration from businesses in the partnership, and are just thankful for that. We're very blessed to have the business community we have in the state. I think we've always known that, but no time more so than now when we're hitting a crisis. So we'll continue to find ways to partner, and appreciate the chance to hear from your members and to get ideas from everybody. So thanks for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one team.
Yep. No question.
Okay. Thanks very much, Commissioner.
All right. Thanks, Peter. Talk to you later.